Hello everyone, this is Paul, the Purple Knight, coming back to you once again to discuss Formula One Manager 22, quickly becoming one of my favorite games. What we're going to do today is to go through Team McLaren, which was my team of choice. We're going to take a look at its advantages, its disadvantages, and the things that you can do to move this team up the ladder over the 5-year time frame the board of directors gives you to achieve a Constructors' Championship. First, let's go through that first screen that you see when you're trying to decide which team you want to run. For Team McLaren, it is a 3 3/4 star dash rated team, which is pretty high up the list. Not the absolute top team, but it is certainly a strong team. For season objective, the board of directors has given you the objective of being the 5th place team or better, which honestly for a team of this quality is not an outrageous objective for the board to give you. So I think it's quite achievable. For a long-term objective, 5-year goal, they want you to get a Constructors' Championship, and quite honestly, I don't think I would be interested in managing a team that didn't have that at least as a 5-year goal. Finally, the starting balance for as far as cash on hand is medium, so the team has some money. And Formula One runs on money. You have to have money, you have to have cash flow. So that was a good sign for taking over this team and hopefully moving it forward. The next screen provides even more information about the state of your team and its ranking within the grid. First, car performance is 8th out of 10, which is pretty lackluster, and strongly suggests something that will need to be worked on to move this team forward. Second, driver performance is rated 5th, middle of the field, so clearly there's something here to work with, but we need to do a deeper dive to figure out what opportunities there are for improving the driver performance on this team. Third, staff performance, 6 out of 10, okay, but not great. Again, suggesting things to work on. And finally, headquarters quality, 4th out of 10, suggesting a strong point for this team is the quality of the headquarters that it has to work with, which is a good thing because headquarters can be expensive. It's good to have one come to you that's already built out to at least some degree. The employee screen shows all the people that are contracted to you, from the drivers on down to the staff positions that support your team. It doesn't provide any other information, but we will be digging down deeper as we go through our analysis. Finally, a little bit of team history, which is nice because it gives you an idea of the background of your team. Clearly, Team McLaren has a long, storied, and successful history with Formula One, and the statistics that they provide here back that up. The long-term performance of the team actually is factored into the game to a small degree, so we will take a look at that later as we dig deeper. So now you've made your pick and you are the team principal for the McLaren Formula One team. Congratulations! This is your home screen. It is the launching point for everything that you're going to do for your team. There's not too much new here that we haven't already talked about before. Main thing is that you can see that the board has medium confidence in you from the get-go, which is okay, but clearly you want to make that better. One of your unspoken goal and objective is to make that as high as possible so you get to keep your job. You can't do much for McLaren if you get fired. The second thing of note is that you actually see the driver ratings for Daniel Ricciardo and Lando Norris. You see Norris is an 86 and Ricciardo is an 84. We're going to talk about that more in a second. So let's dive into the drivers. First, let's talk about Lando. Lando is 22 years old and one of the rising stars in Formula One at this point. You see his ratings, they're all very good, with maybe the exception of his defend rating, but he's a young guy. You can see his growth potential is listed as average, which is actually pretty good. And he's going to be doing a lot of driving, and there's going to be lots of opportunities to raise ratings up to something that is more consistently in the 80s, and then start reinforcing strength beyond that. So Lando has actually got the potential to be a future driver champion for the series. He's that good. We look at his contract details, we can see that McLaren has this guy signed up for 5 years. It says 4, but that the new season has started, so they don't count that as far as the remaining contract. He has 4 full years plus one race less than a fifth year, so he's there for 5 years. It's a great contract from McLaren's point of view, and I suppose from Norris's point of view as well. His base salary is $10 million a year. It's not bad. It's not bad at all. But he also gets $1 million bonus every time he finishes sixth or better. So he has lots of opportunities to increase what he gets from McLaren for his driving. We can compare him to Daniel Ricciardo, which is the other driver. He joined the team a year ago. He joined the team in 2021. He is now 32 years old and has made the rounds for a few different teams. He started with Red Bull and had some success there, then spent 2 years at Renault and surprised them by telling them that he wanted to leave and come to McLaren. So now he's here. He's done 1 year here. It was kind of lackluster, and now he's in the second year of a 3-year contract. And we are trying to figure out what to do with this guy. You can see his ratings are pretty much across the board good. Not stellar, but very good, with maybe a special emphasis on the smoothness rating that means that he's very kind on tires, and it's a nice thing that can be taken advantage of during a race. His contract has one more full year after this year, so he's got the rest of 2022 plus all of 2023 contracted with McLaren, getting just over $10 million a year and getting another $1 million per race that he finishes eighth or better. So arguably, he has a more lucrative contract as far as the income potential per year as far as this contract runs. Problem is, his 2021 season was not all that great. He wasn't in the points as much as they thought. They thought that Ricciardo was going to be leading the team, with Norris kind of being the young guy who's learning from the old pro. In reality, Norris is leading the chase, and Ricciardo is definitely second best on this two-man driver team. So the question is, what are we going to do with Daniel Ricciardo? Well, the actual McLaren team answered that question. They actually bought out the third year of his contract, and by, quote, mutual agreement, they would pay him a whole boatload of money, I think something over $13 million, and he would agree not to come to work the next year. Not a bad job if you can get it, $13 million for not coming to work. But it did free McLaren up to find someone that they think is going to present better opportunities for them in the future. So now, if you, as the team principal for 2022 here in F1 Manager, you get to go through the same decision process that the real team actually did and figure out what you're going to do with Daniel Ricciardo and what is the future going to be for your team as you get into 2023. And then we have our reserve driver, Van Dorn. Van Dorn is fairly typical. There's two ways to go with a reserve driver. One is an older guy who works for you relatively on the cheap, and he's there to stand in if absolutely necessary. He's got a composite skill of 72, which is probably about typical for that sort of guy. The other strategy is to have a young guy who can develop into something using the first practice period. He'll run instead of one of your two regulars, and he will get experience and quite possibly develop into somebody that you could actually bring in at some point as a permanent driver for one of your two cars. And you have your support staff, which you see here. You have your technical chief, head of aerodynamics. Those are the people helping you develop the car into something better. They're the research and development heads. And you have your race engineers, one assigned to each driver to lead the effort to get that guy's car out on the track in the best way possible. As far as what McLaren has, the technical chief is on the last year of his contract, and he is kind of a lackluster composite 74. Also, Jason Pryor, one of the race engineers, is also in the last year of his contract, and he could also be up for replacement. Your facilities are also extremely important. As we saw earlier, the facilities are one of the stronger points of Team McLaren. So let's take a look at what we've got. There are three general categories of facilities: car development, staff facilities, and operations facilities. Car development facilities include the factory, the design center, various other technical support structures to help you build better race cars. You see all of them are at level 2, so they're all equally okay-ish. This probably puts them at the better end of the scale as far as what teams have. The operations facilities are considerably weaker than the car development facilities. We don't have a boardroom at all. So I guess when we have board meetings, we go to the local Motel 6 and hang out in the lobby or something. I don't know. Hospitality and weather are also weak. Helipad and memorabilia room and tour center are all fine, with the memorabilia room being the best because, hey, we are Team McLaren and we have this rich history, so we want to have all of our trinkets on display to ooh and ah everybody, including ourselves from time to time after we've had a bad day. Of note is that the tour center and the helipad are structures that can generate more revenue than they used to maintain themselves. And finally, we have the staff facilities. Basically, the team hub is a place for the team to hang out in. The scouting department, that determines the number of scouts we have. Both of those are only at level 1, whereas we have a level 3 race simulator, so that would have to be considered a strength. And taken all together, that is our headquarters. Now let's take a moment to take a look at our car's performance. If we recall on the initial screen, it was showing up as something of a problem, saying that we were 8th overall. And here we can really see it because this chart on the right compares our car to the grid average, so the average of all the competing cars. You see all the numbers that are boxed in white. They're boxed in white because they're better than our car. So every single category that they measure as far as car performance, our car is below the average of the grid in every category. And this is a problem that we need to deal with, and we need to deal with as quickly as possible. Then on to finance. If you look in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, you see that number, $25,733,000 and some odd dollars. That's the money we start with in the bank. This is going to give us some flexibility to go ahead and start implementing our plans right from the get-go, once we identify what directions we want to take. 25 million sounds like a lot of money, but if you spend it on the wrong stuff, it will disappear rather quickly and it may not move you anywhere where you need to go. The next slide simply shows our monthly balance is in the positive by some 4 million. As far as short-term expense, I see us clearing 4 million at the end of every race, unless we have to pay out driver bonuses, and each driver is potentially getting $1 million, so that 4 million comes 2 million rather quickly if I'm dishing out those bonuses. And this screen shows our sponsorships, and sponsorships are very important to McLaren. Shows we're very healthy. If you look over and to the right hand side, it says team rating rank is 4th out of 10, which means it's strong. And if we look here, and remember that 3.5 stars or 3 3/4 stars I said that we had, here's, you see it, or dashes, I like to call it stars. And you can see where it's coming from. It's coming from constructors' results. We're getting 608 points from that, 29 points from driver results, and 102 from heritage. Remember, I told you our rich history is helping us a little bit. Well, here's where it's helping us. It's giving us an extra 102 points. And you add it up, and you get to 739 points. And you look at the chart to the right. That means we are just a little bit short of being a team in leadership. A leadership team would have 4+ stars. It would break you into the next category. So here we see where our rating comes from, the things that feed into it, and also the fact that this rating feeds directly into our sponsors' willingness to fund our program. So this is also something, in addition to the board, we have to pay attention to our sponsors, and this is how we need to go ahead and keep our eyes on what's going on. Hello, everyone. Yes, have a seat right over there. We'll get the board meeting started in a minute. Let's get the screen lowered. Good, that's fine. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Nicola Lombardi. I'm here as the new team principal for Team McLaren Formula One. And what I'm going to do with you today, senior management and board members, is to go through our strategies as far as what we're going to do in the next 12 months and why we're going to do it. So without further delay, let's dive in. First, we're going to take a look at ourselves relative to the competing teams, assessing our strengths, our weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, a standard sort of analysis that any MBA is familiar with. For our strengths, First and foremost is Lando Norris, one of the best young drivers in Formula One today. He's only going to get better over the coming years, and we have him in a 5-year contract. This is his first year in his contract, and we're going to have him with us, growing and winning for a long time. He is the foundation for our team of the future, and he's going to be critical to us getting to the Constructors' Championship that we are dedicating ourselves to within the next 5 years. Secondly, one of our strengths is the health of our balance sheet. This team has the resources that it should take to go ahead and accomplish its goals, assuming that we are good custodians of the resources that we have earned. We have good positive cash flow, we have strong sponsorship, we have a lot of good things on the financial side. What we haven't had is performance on the track, which is something that we are going to have to address. Which leads us into our weaknesses. We have had unacceptable car performance in recent years, and as of right now, we assess it in the bottom half, well into the bottom half of the competition. Our cars simply are not as fast as those of the other teams. And so this is something that we have to put high up on the list to fix. And along with that, even though, yes, you've replaced the team principal and I'm new here, there's still leftovers of the old regime here that will need to be reviewed and possibly action will be taken. So we have to up our game, not just with the team principal, but all the way up and down the organization if we're going to meet the goals that we have set for ourselves. Team opportunities. We have things that we could be doing that, in my view, should and will be doing to upgrade our team over the course of the next 12 months. In particular, we can use this slot of reserve driver as a place to develop young talent rather than as a parking spot for an older driver. We want to bring in a driver that's young who can go ahead and develop according to our system in our cars that someday could take over one of the 2 top driving spots on the team. We also have certain upgrades we can do with staff that we will go ahead and get into in a minute. And finally, as a new team principal, I have an opportunity to build a strong relationship with the board on multiple levels. Yes, we have to meet goals, but also as far as being open and honest as far as how we're operating and how we intend to go ahead and get to where we need to be in the future. And we can do some things that will help that communication happen as we go forward. The threats against us right now, even though he's a fine gentleman, Daniel is kind of a threat in a sense, in that he is in a 3-year contract with us. He is getting paid pretty much the same as Lando, but we're just not seeing the performance level that we had anticipated when we contracted with him in his current 3-year contract. He's in the second year of a 3-year contract, and the first year did not deliver the results that we had hoped. We had hoped and expected that he would be a leader on the team, and it just simply has not happened. Not on a personal level. He gets along with everybody fine, but in terms of points earned on the field. So this is something that we're going to have to assess as we go forward into the second year of his contract. And secondly, what I'm calling reputation attenuation. The McLaren name means something in Formula One. And it means something because of the performance that was delivered in past years. And every year that goes by with us languishing in the bottom half of the field is going to take a little bit away from that reputation. So we simply cannot allow that to happen because the reputation will drive sponsorship revenue, will determine the drivers that want to come and join us or other team members that want to come and join us. We cannot get to where we want to be if we squander our reputation and let it just kind of drift away. So that's something we have to pay attention to as well and put some immediacy behind meeting our current goals. Our strategy for 2022. First, I assure you that we are embracing the board's short-term goal of a 5th place finish or better, and I see no reason why this team can't achieve that as we make the proper decisions going forward. We absolutely need to improve car performance. We need to get it above average. If we get it by the end of this year, I'll be a happy guy. I'm not sure we will. Part of that's going to depend on the budget we can allocate based on our actual performance as we go through the year. We need to scout and hire new talent so that we can go ahead and get our human resources to where we need them to be as well. And finally, it is my wish that we increase our cash reserve from 25 million to 40 million so we have the financial flexibility to do what we need to do once we get to the end of 2022 and into 2023. Part of what we need to do is invest in our headquarters to go ahead and start working on these new designs and the new generation of car that we need to come out with. The design center will be upgraded. That is going to be one of the first things we do. So that 25 million in cash that we currently have, about half of it's going to go immediately into getting the new design center started. Getting that up to speed is going to be important to us. And as we go through the year, I would hope to get at least the wind tunnel project started to upgrade that as well. And then upgrade this boardroom. We're getting tired of meeting at Motel 6 and having our celebration dinners at Denny's. So we're going to spend some money on the board as part of our effort to have a good relationship with the board. We have to have a good place to meet and to work. Scouting center, very important. If we're going to find the new people that we need to do scouting, and scouting takes money, and I will be investing in the scouting center, as well as the various revenue centers that we can go ahead and invest in that will increase tourism, that will better our relationships with our sponsors. So we want to make sure that anything we can do to stay healthy financially shall be done. For personnel, we are going to bring in a new reserve driver. That is a decision, as well as a new technical chief. But first we need to go ahead and do the requisite scouting. We cannot just hire people without knowing about them. So this is not something that's going to happen immediately, probably not in the first half of the year, but we are going to develop a portfolio of suitable candidates, and then we are going to go ahead and go after them and get some folks signed up. That being said, we are going to re-sign Jason Pryor for the team engineer for one of our teams so that we have some continuity with the relationship with the driver to the technical staff. And with Daniel, we are simply going to wait and see. It is still our hope and our expectation that Daniel will come through for us in this second year, be scoring points, and get to where we hope and expect that he will be by the end of the year. So it is something to watch. It is not necessarily something to act upon at this point, although we should be doing some scouting to prepare should needs be. And finally, as part of our commitment to improve the performance of our car, I will be doing as much R&D investment as is possible, keeping our engineering staff busy as much as we can, and using every bit of the resources available to go ahead and push projects through. Finally, we will build out additional headquarters structures as budget permits, subject to other goals that are in competition with this, such as building up our cash reserves. But we will be looking for opportunities to further improve the headquarters as we go forward. All right, that's it. The floor is open for any questions that you might have. All right, my friends, so back to being myself again. What I've tried to do is give you the assessment of the team McLaren as far as where they are in their development and where they need to go. I'm finding it to be a lot of fun to play them in the game. They have all of the things that are gnawing at them in the real world seem to be in the game, and the things that you need to pay attention to if you really are going to play this as a strategy game rather than a game where you're just watching cars whiz around the track. So, with that being said, if you have not already done so, I surely would appreciate a subscription and maybe hit the bell so you get notified of when we put videos out there for you to go ahead and take a look at. With that, this is Paul, the Vorpal Knight, wishing you all a pleasant evening.